Good morning, sir. Shall we start with the session, sir?
Video. Okay.
A very good morning to my dear participants. Let us now invoke God's blessings through a prayer song.
Okay.
There shall be showers of blessings. This is the promise of love. There shall be seasons refreshing, sent from the Savior above. Showers of blessings, showers of blessings we need. Mercy drops round us are falling, but for the showers we plead. Showers of blessing, showers of blessing we need. Mercy drops round us are falling, but for the showers we plead. There shall be showers of blessing, send them upon us, O Lord. Grant to us now a refreshing, come and now honor thy word. Showers of blessing, showers of blessing we need. Mercy drops round us are falling, but for the showers we plead. Showers.
Thank you. We welcome you back again to St. Joseph's College and Academy, jointly organized national level 5-day faculty development program, Heritage Management, a Business Perspective. I hope yesterday's sessions was undoubtedly amazing and you all had a great time in exploring heritage management in various fields, including challenges in preservations, case study of Sir Isaac Newton Museum and Ranipat Herbarium, spoken by Reverend Dr. M. Arikasamy Xavier, Principal of St. Joseph's College. And from 11:15 to 1:15, you had Managing over Tourism at Heritage Sites in India, spoken by Dr. I.C. Gupta, Ex-Dean Management and Tourism, DA University, Professor Emeritus, Oriental University, Indore. And post-lunch, we explored about the life skills, spoken by Reverend Dr. Emmanuel Arakim, Head Department of Counseling Psychology, St. Joseph's College, Trichy. I hope you all had a great time yesterday. So let us now move on to the next section of the day 5. With esteemed pleasure, I would like to welcome and introduce you, Dr. A. John Peter, private consultant, to talk about HR issues and solutions. We welcome you, sir. To talk about his high standard profile, Dr. John Peter has 18 years of teaching experience, 13 years of postdoctoral teaching, and 6 years in HR positioning and project ed. His area of expertise and specialization includes OBHR, organizational behavior, organizational change and development process, learning and development, personal and professional growth, corporate social responsibility, strategic planning. His competencies include research, consulting, training, curriculum development, innovative teaching. He has been served as a senior consultant for 5 leading international and 20 national development organizations and 8 educational institutions in the area of organizational development, institute building, strategic planning, and training intervention. He has also conducted international and national level training programs, workshops on diversity management, NGO management, OD interventions, strategic planning, and CSR, interpersonal effectiveness, leadership and team building, competency mapping, and development. He's been served as a director of IG and PGP chair in Varadasan Institute of Management. He's been served as a dean academics for 4 years, chair training extension activities, Department of Research Committee chairman, national coordinator of diversity management in disaster relief and reconstruction projects. He has been the project director for 2 years. He has also published and authored several books and journals. To talk about his global exposure, he has been interacted and addressed academicians, parliamentaries, and corporate leaders in 9 European countries on social responsibility in global supply chain. So without taking much of your time, I would now like to hand over the session to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your generous words. Am I okay in terms of audio and video?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me share the file that I have. Are you able to see the presentation?
Yes, sir. It's visible, sir.
Okay. Just a minute. Shall I go ahead? Is it visible?
Yes, sir. It's completely visible, sir. You can go ahead with it, sir. Sir, you have kindly unmute yourself and speak, sir.
Yes. Okay, now it's fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Dear colleagues, I'm very happy to be with you. I know it has been a very difficult time for the past 3 days to get into this topic intensively, to read a lot of things on heritage, because, any person who is born and brought up in this part of this country, in India, in general, has sheer lack of sensitivity towards heritage. Maybe we were all taken outside for a tour when we were studying in schools. But then we were totally disconnected about the sites that we have seen. Either it was in Mahabalipuram or Bumbuhar or wherever we went, we were just taken and we were passively and we were very mischievous to do what other things rather than to look at it very keenly, the heritage. So the sense of heritage itself is very, very, very weak in the mind of a general public. And therefore, I too found it very difficult to go through this, learning. And it was a great learning for me. In fact, I wanted to visit great sites like Adichanallur and Kuladi and other sites that are upcoming, giving us a great insight into the history. But rather, this exercise that was given to me by the organizers made me to read more, to study more. Now, I would like to take you through a whole approach, this not as a HR issue within an organization, because we cannot locate an organization, nor do I have a kind of case study of a particular organization, which is, yeah.
Sorry for the intervention, sir. Your screen is not visible currently, sir. Your screen sharing is not visible currently, sir.
Just a minute. Oh, right.
Yes,
Now?
sir. Now it's
Okay.
visible, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So, this is the context. So, I would like to approach the whole thing from the perspective of the whole society. How do you develop a kind of human capital in the society? And that will actually feed into an organization to sustain and restore and promote heritage. I am sure that you would have a lot of understanding with regard to heritage, much more than I have an understanding. And therefore, I would straight away take you to kind of the issues that we face in HR, the issues that we face at the society at a larger perspective, and therefore I would not confine myself to an individual organization. Now, how many of you have seen such structures and tried to trace a history? Now, wherever you are living, such similar structures are there in your neighborhood, completely discarded. Completely don't know if there is a small temple attached to this structure, it will still be there. If it is not there, that will be destroyed. Has anyone who is a participant seen this structure? Anybody? You can text. Not possible. It's in Trichy. And anybody has seen it? No, this is also a name of the place where I am living. So this is typically known as Karumandapam. The location is Karumandapam. Now, where did the name come from? All those people who pass by, who have lived here, have not been intrigued by the question, why is this place called Karumandapam? Is there any historical significance? Is there any site which can indicate the roots of history? That such questions don't come. That's only telling upon the public interest, a sense of history that is in the people's mind, that is basic to develop human capital. For human capital management, you need to have three important things. That the attitude of the people, the interest that they have towards history and heritage. The other one is the knowledge that they have. And then the basic skills they have to approach such historical sites. So this is the Karumandapam. And when Vijayanagara kings invaded Tamil Nadu, when they wanted to approach Trichy, they were actually settling, their troops were settling in this place because it was supposed to be the outskirts of Tiruchirappalli. And that Mandapam was known as Karumandapam. Later, when when this Naik kings and Rani Mangammal was traveling to Tiruchirappalli via Dindigul. That time the route was from Madurai to Tiruchirappalli. You have to always come via Dindigul. So when she was coming, she would always come to this place and take a rest and go. If you see, if you walk across, from Tiruchirappalli to Dindigul, if you just travel by road, you would see in several locations, the name of the village is written like Chatram. Chatram, Chatram, Chatram. So Chatram are the places where the queens used to come and stay there, also feed other people. So the number of places that are on your way when you are traveling, we rarely sit down or get down from our cars and then try to see what was happening here. So I took a snap of this. Even though I am living in this place, I pass by this place quite frequently. So only when I was trying to read about this particular topic, then I went and took a snap of it and then traced the history later. So I know the history only the past 3 days. So this is the situation of the whole public in India in general. And that puts a lot of difficulty and challenges in heritage management, especially with regard to HR issues. Now, the next one is, I have a few questions which you can, see. Do you know your family history for the past 400 years? In fact, how many of you would know your family history for the past more than 400 years? I asked this question because recently there was an Anglo-Indian family which came to Tiruchirappalli to trace the cemetery of their forefathers. Because when the British people were here, they were serving the British government and the family was living here. Why should after several generations people should trace back and come back here to find out? Now, how many of the people of India would have this sense of curiosity to get back to their roots 400 years beyond, 800 years beyond, or 1,000 years beyond? That sense of history and sense of heritage is very, very weak in our mindset. When I went to Europe, I was taken to a farmhouse. In the farmhouse, they preserve a Bible which is 1,500 years old. 1,500 years old. The Bible was even pierced through by a soldier. They still preserve that. Now, do we have anything of that sort? If you go to the houses, you will have all sorts of utensils which was bought by my grandmother and grandfather, whatever it be, we store it. But we don't read really the history behind what was happening then. So do you know your family history for the past 400 years? Now, why do I ask this question? If the vast majority of the people do not have this curious question, how do you think that these people will, carry fire in their belly so that they will be very passionate about the history and the heritage sites that are living, that are even discarded in this part of this country? Now, the second question is, do you know the meaning of a number of family and community rituals? Invariably, it happens when you go to a death, there is a number of rituals. All the so-called educated people just stand apart and look at it. If you are very connected to that person, you may cry, but you do not know what rituals are happening, at what point of time the rituals came, and why is it that people are clinging on to those rituals? Are they meaningful? Are they meaningless? Are you willing to throw away? Because we do not know the meaning of a number of family and community rituals that are there. So not knowing is not contributing anything for the survival of this ritual or upgrading these rituals for a contemporariness. That's a question mark. The third question is, do you remember your teacher taking class on the importance of local culture, heritage, and develop career ambition in you? Why do I ask questions? We had conducted a survey among 2,000 students in 2 districts of Sivagangai and Ramnad. In those survey, we asked the students, what is your career ambition? And invariably, automatically, all the children who are born and brought up, even in the remote villages, they will say, I want to become a collector and I want to become a doctor and engineer. These are the 3 careers that they know. If you ask detailed questions, they may ask you, I want to become a policeman, I want to become a teacher. This is what they will say, because this is what they have seen and this is what they have heard. So right from the school days onwards, there has not been a consistent effort to trigger a sense of curiosity in the heritage, in the in the history of this area. Even when they teach history, what happens is they teach the history of the world history to a 5th standard boy, or Indian history to a boy who studies 8th standard. He just cannot connect the local history to that history. Then the geography teacher or the history teacher has to give a shortcut method of marking Delhi, marking UP, marking the rivers, and how does it enhance the understanding of the students? It does not. And therefore, a sense of history and the sense of identity with your own past should start from your own local area, local culture, local heritage. And that does not happen in the village, in the schools. And do you know the history of your town? These are some indicative questions that will tell us to what extent we are prepared to develop an interest, to develop a positive attitude, to be knowledgeable about, to have that skill of searching for it. For example, there is an interesting temple in Tiruchirappalli, which is Erumbiswarar temple. Now, most of the people will pass by that road, but they will not have that curiosity to see how important that temple is, what is the history connected to that temple, how has that temple contributed to the society today. So these kind of senses are not there. So in this ecosystem, to talk about people who will have the passion for maintaining heritage is really a very difficult question. Again, another set of questions that I have. If you have anything, you can stop me and share with me. So I may try to go fast because I don't want to bore you all. And in case you have anything, please share with me. I had to build a new house years back. And we had an old spacious house which was built for that year, 100 years before. Now it is not in a position where you could live. When there is a rain, it was leaking. So it was in a very bad state. I didn't want to get rid of the tiles, that reaper, the girders, which was made from palm trees. Now I asked several people, can we repair it? Can we restore it? And can we renovate it to make it contemporary at the same time without affecting the history of this house? And I went around the village, I went around the neighborhood. With my limited knowledge, I could not even do on my own, bring people from elsewhere. People don't have any interest in the village. They were mocking at me and saying, what nonsense are you doing? Today, everybody is going for concrete housing. What do you want to do with that? Now, I just want to know, how are they able to build a wall with the mud? And the wall is not even washed away by water. How is a wall which is very tall, which can support 2 stories even, was built with just a mud and which is stronger than cement? How is it? That technology is not there, that artisans are not there. And how do you see to develop a sense of heritage? They just have thrown out. So I gave up that idea and built a new house. Even now I regret. The next question is, which city has got the best talent pool? Can you quickly come through the text? You can come to the chat box and say, according to you, which city do you think has got the best talent pool? Oh, somebody says Nellai. Oh, great. You are from Nellai. Bangalore. Anybody else? Which city has got the best talent pool? Mumbai? No, I'm not asking about heritage knowledge. I'm just asking a general question. Talent pool. Professor Papurajan says Tiruchirappalli. Now, when you ask that question, the first thing is, what do we understand by the talent? Which talent are we referring to? I think one of the participants referred to the heritage talents. Now, the simple thing, if you are putting up this question in your LinkedIn or anywhere, people invariably move towards Bangalore unless they are very much attached to their own city. Now, when you say the best talent pool is in Bangalore, what you refer is IT talent. You are not referring to any other talent. So immediately the whole society is moving to talent means something related to IT. And people move towards a job. So society only respects a talent which gives you money. And society respects the talent which is very, very functional, which you can just sell it, which you can make money out of it. And that is what is considered to be a talent. Now, even when you say the best talent pool is in Bangalore, you are not saying that Bangaloreans are the people who are the native, or the inhabitants of Bangalore are known for talent pool. The people elsewhere come and assemble in that hub, Bangalore hub, and then they are looking for a talent opportunity. So when you say talent pool, the talents move to a place where is a talent infrastructure. There are a lot of companies with a lot of infrastructure, and that's why people congregate or move towards that place. So invariably, when we are talking about heritage talent, you need to have a heritage infrastructure, talent structure, talent ecosystem. Unless and until you have that talent ecosystem, you will not develop that talent pool. Therefore, it's very, very difficult to identify a talent pool. You don't have a database of heritage professionals. You don't have a database of heritage artisans. You don't have the talent analytics and talent mapping of this particular aspect in this country, also in many other countries. Even the advanced countries, though they are better off, they are also struggling. If you read some of the research papers, you will find even they are struggling. Unless Canada, UK, and Australia are better in terms of heritage talent pool, but we are far behind in terms of heritage talent pool. And I would like to focus this session on talent ecosystem. Now again, this question is related to a cultural identity, a heritage identity. Which state has the strongest sense of cultural identity? I just put randomly 5 states: Mizoram, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. Among these 5 states, which state do you think has the strongest sense of cultural identity? Okay, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu. Now, this particular question has got 2 approaches. One is to have a very strong bondage to the to your traditional culture. If you go to Northeast, you will see people who are living in the hilly area, who are Adivasis, have got very strong sense of connect with their ecosystem, and their lifestyle is connected to their environment. But if you come to a kind of modern state like Maharashtra or Tamil Nadu or Andhra, now again among these states, if you find which has got strongest sense of cultural identity, it depends upon the policy framework. How much fund is allocated to the heritage? What the political will of the party that is ruling? So if you take that and the political context of that particular state, a particular cultural identity is put against what? So in this context, you will see some states faring better than the other states in terms of, cultural identity. Oh, sorry. Just a minute, got stuck up. Now, the next question is, there is something very important that is in Tamil Nadu. Have you visited Dakshina Chitra? I don't know if that spelling good also, I think it's right. Yeah. Have you visited Dakshina Chitra? Any idea where it is? Any idea what it is? Among the participants, has any one of you have visited this place and any idea where it is and any idea what it is? Super. It is a kind of heritage site, and so it's more than a museum. It is a kind of heritage site which is located in Muttukadu in Chennai on near Mahabalipuram. Okay, now all of us have to visit it. We need to take our children to that place. This is a typical example of how a society should nurture, restore, renovate, and promote our own sites. We would have lost typical houses in Tirunelveli. We would have lost typical houses in Chettinad. We would have lost typical houses in Malabar, traditional houses. But all these houses are relocated in this particular place, and you will have a sense of heritage. And today, many people go there to take photo, but you can spend the whole day to appreciate this particular site. So why do I talk about all these things when I have to deal with HR issues? Because the HR issue starts with the human capital management, which is a wider public. Where is the interest? Where is the skill? Where is the knowledge in the society on which you can build your own human capital management? So these are some of the examples to give a feel about heritage. There is something intangible heritage, and that is something tangible heritage. Tangible heritage are built heritage, and any other objects and sites are known as tangible heritage. And intangible heritage are festivals and other things, music, where you can experience that. So there are two types of heritage. I think what you see, you will have, many of you will understand. You will have got the Tanju temple, and you have got this Kiradi, and you have got Adichanallur. So these are the important heritage sites that are coming up today. So how do we understand heritage? You would have a better understanding of that. But understanding heritage, it consists of structures and sites recognized by public authorities for defined characteristics on the basis of their architectural, historical, and community significance. So when do we call something a heritage? It should be recognized by public authorities, but then they are known for their architectural beauty, they are known for the historical importance, and they are known for their community significance. So something may not be architecturally important or historically important, but if that is a very, very significant place where community come together to have their own common sense of meaning and purpose, that is also very important. Now, these heritage buildings or sites can be residential, institutional, commercial, or industrial operations. It can be any of these things. Now, what is the context? I've been talking to you about the context of our human capital management, human resource approach. As I told you in the beginning, there is a lack of sense of history. Some of the questions that I have thrown up in the beginning told you that if I do not know the history of the city where I am living, have I read any book on the history of Tiruchirappalli, where I am here? Do I know the history of Ramnath district, where I am coming from? So this is a lack of sense of history which is there. Our public memory is very, very short. Even when there is a sense of history in TamilNadu, it is because of the ruling party which has developed a sense of history. There are scholars who discovered the importance of Tiruvalluvar. There are scholars who developed the importance of, heritage sites. So it is a kind of top-down approach. It is never, ingrained in the cultural ethos of the people. If you go to a hamlet, if you go to a village, if you go to a small towns, the most of the heritage sites stand discarded unless and until it is connected with the deity. It is in the name of the god, it is in the name of gods and deities that people have restored, even preserved some heritage sites in this part of this country. So there is a lack of sense of history, which has to be tackled at the society level itself. And people don't like the subject history, and you don't have a clear career path when you study history, and you don't have a technologically advanced ecosystem of learning history, and therefore it is uninteresting. The teacher who taught us history was only telling us to remember the names, which was very, very difficult in history, and therefore we lost interest in history. So the whole ecosystem, because we are looking for a job, not because it is sustainably important, but then because it can give you money immediately. That's why students choose their courses. And the students who don't choose their courses because of their passion. And therefore, the sense of history has to be instilled in the mind of the people from the beginning, if you want to have a heritage management properly. And then connected to that question is insensitivity to heritage. You have got a lot of sites, the sites that I have shown to you. So much of development has come about this place, but people have not been curious. Either the panchayat authorities have not been curious, elected representatives have not been curious, even the teaching community has not been curious. In fact, there is a school close by. If you ask a student who is studying there, if you ask a teacher who is teaching there, what is this? They will only say this is Karumandapam. Now, why do you call it? What is the significance of this place? That sensitivity to heritage is by and large is missing. And therefore, it results in discarding the heritage sites. They are destroyed in the name of development or just discarded to die on its own. And another important thing is when you talk about the context, it is contested. Whose history is it? The society is so fragmented by caste system, a hierarchically positioned caste system. Who will own it? If you have to talk about Rajaraja Cholan, there are many communities that are, taking, historical roots from there. Now we do not know. Even that personality is taken by caste communities. So they contested, fragmented ownership. Whose history is it? It is not a community coming together to have a common ownership. So this kind of divisive approach in the community also plays a major role in developing a sense of history. For majority of the people in this part of this country, history is very, very painful, exploitative, and discriminatory, and therefore heritage sensitivity is only living with the elite sections of this society. And unless and until it is broad-based with the vast majority of the people, you cannot build a real talent around this heritage. The life cycle of heritage management, and you would have seen it in other sessions as well. So safeguarding the character defining elements of a cultural resource. Now, if you see the main guard gate in Tiruchirappalli, or if you see George Fort in Chennai, there is a character defining elements of cultural resource. Now, what do? What are the activities that should be done? When you have to talk about competencies, you need to talk about competencies for preserving so that it can retain its original space, rehabilitate if they are destroyed, how to rehabilitate the objects like Egmont Museum is there that rehabilitates, restore if they are too much destroyed beyond repair, and how can you put them together to its original shape, then reconstruct if the buildings that I have shown you is in a very, very dilapidated condition and you need to reconstruct. And then advertisement, communication, value creation. We are living in a world where unless a marketer enters into any area, their product will not be sustainably and dynamically preserved and promoted. So a marketer who communicates to the public, who builds a brand, who builds a value creation, is very important in heritage management. So you need to have a competencies for preservation, rehabilitation, restoration, reconstruction, and advertisement. Now, when you are talking about all these processes of heritage management, the problem is we do have professionals who are known to preserve, rehabilitate in other trades, in other sectors, but the skills and the characteristics that are required in heritage is totally different in all these areas, and that's why we have a talent shortage. So if you want to conserve or manage a heritage site, you need to build sensitivity to heritage among the people. And you need to develop community ownership, and you need to have a policy and funding. Now, community, why do I talk about community ownership? Because where does the talent come from? Where do you get the human resource? You get the human resource from the community. Unless a community owns a heritage, develops interest in the child when it is very young, you will not get that talent into the talent pipeline. And therefore, now the identity, the value creation is done by top-down approach. It is the policymakers and government and archaeological Society of India, they identify a site and they try to restore it. But the bottom-up approach is not there. The local community, I mean, the panchayat, the school system, the multi-stakeholder engagement must be owning that heritage. And then only there will be a kind of talent pool that is coming up already from the villages, from the towns, And then we will have the people who will carry the fire in their belly to create value of the heritages. And closely connected to that is the sensitivity. Okay, sensitivity to the heritage and policy and funding. These are the very important components in identifying the human resource problems and developing it and coming out with the kind of solution. Now, what does a heritage manager do? When you talk about a heritage manager, he needs to have a lot of skills which even a corporate manager need not have. For a corporate manager, you can fix a job and ask him to do it. If he is a manager for innovation, he will only focusing on that. If he is a manager for finance, he will only focus on that. If he is a manager for marketing, he will only focus on that. Just see the number of jobs that a manager at the heritage site has to do it. So it needs a kind of lot of multitasking. So he has to manage budget, he has to manage financial planning, recruiting, training, council department, historical groups, networking, generating income, fundraising activities, ensuring artifacts are cared, old things are cared for, developing heritage attractions, attracting customers through marketing, devising outreach activities, and writing reports. So all the skills that somebody has to possess. How is that possible? It's very, very challenging. If somebody has all these skills, he cannot be a heritage manager. So a heritage manager has to be highly skilled, trained, has gone through a variety of exposure, then only he can really manage heritage. Now, this is also not a fulfilling job because it doesn't give you money immediately. You cannot convert something into money. It's considered to be more a kind of charitable task. Therefore, unless somebody has got that, hardcore passion in the mind, somebody cannot be a heritage manager. Now, what are the types of jobs in heritage? There are different types of jobs in heritage. You can be an archaeologist, you can be a bricklayer, because bricklayer in a new building is easy. But getting a bricklayer to repair a old site is very, very difficult. Even day-to-day life, you can get any kind of contractors and engineers to build a new house. But if you want to repair an old house, anybody would hesitate. People generally hesitate. They immediately propose, sir, you destroy it and we'll build a new house. That's easy for them. So bricklayer, a builder, blacksmith, because that fellow has to work with the decorative use, building surveyor, carpenter or joiner, conservation accredited architect. It's not a simple architect. He should be an architect who has got a sense of sustainability and conservation. Conservation officer, conservation structural engineer, conservation specialist, dry stone waller, heritage manager, lead worker, painter, decorator, plasterer, roofer, stonemason, steep jack. Now, where do we have all these people? Suppose some of us come together, we identify a site and we want to restore it. Where do you find these talents? Where do you find the resources? Where do you find the way to move ahead? It's very, very difficult. All that we know is we have a kind of mason who can repair it. We have a supervisor who can sew it. We have a fabricator. But then the type of jobs that are required for heritage is different, and therefore the skill set is different. And we need to develop a kind of different competency framework. Now, I would like to bring to you, by the way, if you have any question, please ask me, because I really do not know how far you are engaged in this session. I go very fast. I seem to be doing it very fast. In case you have difficulty, in case you want to say anything, please feel free. Now, why do I say the number of jobs that are available in the area of heritage? Now, these are the jobs which need a kind of different set of competency framework. Now, why do I talk about competency framework? A competency framework is a set of competencies that are related to a particular job. Now, when you give this competency framework, that gives a particular definite competencies to be developed by to be developed by people. Now, you all understand very well what we mean by competency. Competency is a set of, it's in a very simple way, knowledge, skills, and attitude. Now, you need to find people who are passionate about heritage. You need to find people who are skilled as a roofer, or plasterer, or stonemason, and you need to find people who are knowledgeable about all these things. And that is a big challenge with regard to heritage. So this is the kind of, competency framework for it. So they need to have a certain, personal competencies, core competencies, managerial competencies, and specialized competencies. So if they have to be in a kind of managerial positions in a site, in a heritage site, these are the skills that are required of them. See, for example, core. What is the core? Sustainable development. They need to understand that is this structure utilitarian? Is this structure immediately useful or functional or not? If somebody has that mindset, he cannot be a heritage worker. He need to bring in a lot of, ideas with regard to the future implication, the importance of historicity of this location, and therefore heritage development does need sustainable development perspectives. And heritage education and interpretation, you should be aware of it. And that person should also have community rights and knowledge. If a community is very much connected to that, to what extent the rituals and lifestyle of the people are connected to that, then that person should have heritage policy, principles, processes, and ethics. And he should also be able to apply the laws. So these are the core abilities of a person who works in heritage. What are the personal characteristics? And he needs to have foundational competencies. What are the foundational competencies? He needs to have an empathy. He needs to have a sense of beauty. He needs to have a sense of artistic. He needs to have a sense of environment. These are the foundational competencies. What are the advanced personal competencies? He needs to be very good in relating with people, network ability, communication, and writing. So these are the advanced functional personal competencies that we should have. Then you need to have a kind of managerial, which are related to a manager, and then specialize, whatever be the area of. If the person is interested in non-tangible heritage like music, then musicology. If that person is to work in a kind of archaeological site, then he should be developing a particular skill. So this is a kind of a framework, a competency framework, which are very, very fundamental to developing a kind of human resource management strategies. Now, again, what are the challenges, skill challenge that we have with regard to heritage? Now, as I told you earlier, the buildings are very, very different. Okay. The skills needed to restore a building are very, very different from. You will get any number of engineers, you will get any number of masons or supervisors who can do a new building. But you don't have such people. For example, if you go to Auroville, where they have built, if you go to Dakshin Chitra, they need to develop a kind of special engineers and architects who have that special flavor, because they need a kind of distinct skill sets. We really don't have the pool of that. Then the second challenge, skill challenge, is the construction methods are, people have a difficulty in understanding the construction methods, the materials, and the aesthetic principles. So the methods, materials, and aesthetic principles are very difficult to understand today, and people, unless and until they are well trained, they cannot do that. And this is a kind of very labor intensive. You cannot bring a kind of Poklin, a JCP, and build a huge crane and start building your own like new buildings. It's a very, very labor intensive, and it requires a longer time frame for completion. And therefore, it also needs a lot of money and resources, which you cannot define at a particular time. Any project management skill will fail here. You need to have a kind of differential project management skills. You need to have a different operation skills here. And you need to have a differential human capital management strategies here, because it's basically labor intensive. It goes very slow, and you need to get people who really enjoy doing it. not functional, doing it very fast. So the project managers, contractors, and cost consultants who are unfamiliar with the built heritage sector today. That's a skill challenge. Now, we do not have a kind of optimal conditions for supply and retention of critical and priority skills in heritage. Why do Tirupur become a kind of knitting city? Because you have got the optimum conditions where the infrastructure is there, the materials are available, the skill sets are there. So for heritage, you don't have that optimal conditions in one place. You can't consider something like a heritage city or heritage state where you can immediately map and identify the skills of these people. And naturally, the human resource function varies across different industry and sectors. As this is something as I told you earlier. And again, the skill challenge is talent management practices have to be framed differently. You can't just transplant the talent management practices in an IT company to heritage sector. You can't bring a talent management practices in a manufacturing company to this heritage sector. Nor can you bring the talent management practices from, say, service sector to this. Somewhere service sector may have some close connect, but still the talent management practices need to be unique and we need to develop, and we are far from moving anything concrete in this direction. Now, the skill encompasses a bundling that goes beyond a technical. Now, it is not only technical, it's a bundling of a wide variety of skills. Why do we say a bundling of wide variety of skills? If you get a kind of fabricator, okay, a fabricator who works in a new building, his skill set is different. But if you have to get that same fabricator to repair an old structure, he need to have a kind of emotional connect, aesthetic connect, and informational processing skills. And so unless he has got that kind of personality characteristic, he cannot be a kind of, and it is very, very difficult to find people like that. Now we want to create a kind of talent pipeline. So first we said, in a society at large, which has to promote a talent pool, there is a lack of interest, lack of sensitivity, lack of ecosystem to develop a kind of talent pool from the early stage, right from your education. And then we said, what are the type of jobs a person in heritage will do? Then we moved on to the kind of competency framework for a kind of person who can work in a kind of heritage environment. Then fourthly, we moved on to a kind of the skill challenges that we have in heritage sector. And now we are going to talk about talent pipeline. What do you mean by talent pipeline? Now, talent pipeline refers to developing a kind of long-term relationship with potential candidates. You need to identify the candidates and then keep them at the different stages of your pipeline till you onboard them. This is what we mean by pipeline. Now, where do you go? Which means, if a heritage, you need to have a heritage ministry. That ministry should start creating the pipeline right from the day the child moves to a school. So your talent pipeline should start right in the early education. And therefore, you need to create a kind of interest, exposure, melas, festivals, all that already right from the school. From there, you should start tracing them. It's like a sports. When do you identify a person who can go to Olympic and get a medal? It is not today or yesterday or day before yesterday. It already starts identifying that guy or that girl from the school and developing that. That's what we mean by pipeline. If you want somebody to come to a kind of heritage site and do all sorts of heritage conservation or management, then you need to identify such talent already when they are too young. So a HR plan form a passive model. Whenever we talk about HR plan, for example, you want to restore the building that I showed you. Now immediately you are looking for people who can repair that Karumandapam and restore it to its original beauty. Now, you can't have immediately. You need to have a long-term plan. You need to develop people who will have a kind of special interest in this. So such kind of, corporate functional filling of vacancies and positions will not help in heritage. And therefore, you need to create a kind of talent pipeline. I'm sure that you understand what I mean by talent pipeline. Any doubt with regard to what we have seen so far? Anybody has any queries, anything to add on, or any differences?
Hello, participants. We have unmuted you all.
They can text.
You can text in the chat box and then you can speak. Dear participants, we have unmuted you all. You can text in the chat box and then speak up. Come up with all your queries.
Okay, then we will keep going. So I really want to ensure that we have a kind of common understanding about the talent pipeline. Talent pipeline starts with the talent pooling. So talent pooling and keeping at the different stages in the talent pipeline, so that at the end of the pipeline, you have people who are ready to take on the important and challenging task of preserving, conserving, or managing this heritage site. Now, this is a typical example of how a talent pipeline looks. You plan recruitment in line with business strategy. In a talent pipeline, the most important thing is a strategy, business strategy. Now, when we talk about business strategy, what is the heritage strategy? Heritage strategy, does the state have? That's a policy. No, it has to happen at different levels. Now, I think I'm not very sure of what are the different levels. I do understand it is happening only at the, at the union level and the state level. I do not know whether that happens at the district level and panchayat level. Therefore, a panchayat, a district, and a state and a union government, all of them need to have a kind of strategic plan for heritage management. Now, that strategic plan would give a kind of blueprint about where do we want to go in another 5 years and how do you want to reach there. And if you want to reach there, how do you align strategic human resource management? So what are the type of resources that you would require in order to restore, reclaim, and make a kind of vibrancy in terms of heritage sector? So we need to have a kind of business strategy. That's the very beginning of a talent pipeline. Now, if you have a talent pipeline, if you have a business strategy, well articulated, well developed, involving multi-stakeholder, and you have done a kind of SWOT analysis where you identify the strength and limitations. Now the HR agency, HR department will step in to come out with a kind of blueprint to develop a talent pipeline. Unless and until you have it, you can't have a kind of talent pipeline. Now, in the talent pipeline, the next thing is attracting the right talent, find the right talent, assess the talent, develop the talent, and monitor the talent. These are the different stages we will see in the upcoming slides. Now, you need to also understand a concept called talent pool. A talent pool is typically a kind of database of potential candidates that could end up working at heritage site. So you have a pool of candidates who can be placed in the different stages in the pipeline, and then who can be working in a heritage site at a particular time. So with every hire, you can begin to see increasing returns, because anytime you reach out to the people, you have a strategic plan, and the plan is made for next 10 years or even 20 years or next 5 years. For next 5 years, you are thinking beyond and try to identify people. Suppose you go to a school where you conduct a kind of, a kind of heritage mela or something. You identify a rare potential and immediately he becomes part of your database. So this is how you need to Find a data. But today, recruitment does not happen on a single day where you go and carry all the people to your company, because the skills that are required even in corporate houses are different. They are not looking for a kind of ready-made skill. They are looking for a person who can always learn new set of skills. And therefore, you need to identify such people. Now, again, we need to get into a kind of talent management, which is basically a kind of talent pipeline. Now, when you talk about talent pipeline, a talent management system, I would say a talent planning, as I told you. So you need to have a kind of, just a minute. Your talent planning. So in talent planning, you need to understand organizational business strategy, developing measurement matrix, and workforce planning. You need to plan your workforce. What type of trades you require, what type of skill sets you require, do you have a kind of talent mapping? All these things happen in the first stage. The second stage, talent acquisition. Employee value proposition. What type of value do you give to the employee? Employer branding, talent acquisition. I will explain each one of these in detail. The third stage is talent development. Once they come into your organization or into the heritage site or heritage ecosystem, you need to give an orientation, onboarding, performance management, learning and development. And then you also need to have a potential appraisals, talent retention strategy, and talent transit, succession planning, transfer. Unless you have all these things, you cannot develop a talent management in the heritage area. So the first thing is, just a minute. Talent planning. Now, when you talk about talent planning, you need to understand the strategic direction, current needs and future growth. What are the needs today, immediately, and what are the development needs, so that we can, what are the key roles I told you, what are the key skills, skill gap. And for this, you need to have a HRIS, Human Resource Information System, in the heritage site. Unfortunately, in a country like India, we don't have a well-developed human resource information system for heritage, to my knowledge. If they are there, please inform me, I will correct it. So this kind of human resource information system, data mapping, availability of traditional human capital, that is another thing. We don't start from a zero. There are thousands and thousands of people who are traditional artisans, who are not respected in the society, who are not recognized in the society, who are not remunerated properly. And we need to have a kind of database of those traditional artisans who could be reoriented, whose skills can be, who can be upskilled, so that they will bring certain kind of dynamism into their skill and make these kind of heritage sites a vibrant monuments for the future. So this includes a kind of demand analysis. We need to have a demand by how many people you will have in future needed. Your strategic plan will tell you how many artisans you want to have, how many bricklayers you want to have in future, how many heritage managers you want to have. So you need to be very, very specific, and accordingly you need to build up this talent pipeline. Demand analysis, supply analysis, and an analysis of the specific heritage skills required for each state. Now, the next step is, once you have completed your talent planning, talent planning. Now, the second step is talent acquisition. I know you will have something in your mind saying who has to plan and who has to acquire. I'm talking at different levels, at the union level, at the state level, at the district level, at the panchayat level. And you need to have a kind of integrated planning of talent management in heritage. Now, if you want to acquire good talents, you need to focus on your pull factor and push factor. What's a pull factor? Pull factor is something that should be very attractive. Why do I want to build a career in a particular area? Because I need to be attracted towards that area. I need to see that there is a value in that. I need to see that there is my purpose is aligned with the purpose of this. So that's a pull factor. So for that, we need to have a kind of heritage branding. Now, what do you mean by heritage branding? The value that you created in the mind of the people, the future aspirants, the prospective employees is called branding. So can you build up a kind of, we call it a kind of employer branding. Here you can't heritage branding. Can you build a brand around the beautiful temples in this country? Can you build a brand around the heritage sites that are very important, that are very emotionally connected to your past? Or can you build a kind of brand around a kind of, traditional music, which is an invisible heritage, intangible heritage? So we need to consistently develop branding, and you need to get the best branding, professionals on board, so that it's very, very attractive. Why should I work in the heritage sector? If a boy has to say, I want to be a doctor and I want to be an engineer, I want to be a collector, because we have seen them coming in a posh car to the village and attracting them. But he has not seen any heritage site which carries a kind of branding, and people who come and boldly say, I am a heritage manager. So that kind of heritage branding should be built. The second thing is a sense of ownership. And I told you, the community should have a sense of ownership. The local community, unless the community and the various stakeholders at the grassroots have a sense of ownership, and again, this is not going to push. For example, if in a particular village, a particular heritage site is given importance in all its festivals, and lot of importance is given to them, a guy would come that I want to build on this. I want to build skills so that it can become a kind of world-class heritage site. So you need to have that sense of ownership. Pride and identity is important. Who has got pride of that heritage? Many people, you only see outside people coming in. I am coming from Ramnath district, but I have very rarely gone to Rameshwaram temple. At least for the sake of curiosity and the heritage value, I should have gone to that temple. I should have gone to a number of places in the areas, travel, toured. But you give North Indians come to Rameshwaram because of the religious value and not because of the heritage value alone. Fortunately, a religious importance is attached to the heritage sites in India, and that's why they are surviving. Okay, even if you have to protect your environment, you have to see that some like Arasamaram and neem trees combined together have got divine value. When you say divine value, people don't cut it. And that is one of the way to promote your environment. So you connect this kind of emotional connect with a kind of, sense of ownership, pride and identity. When you talk about Tiruvalluvar, you have a sense of pride and identity. When you talk about your language, you have a sense of pride and identity. And this should not even remain at the kind of macro identities. It should also remain at the level of micro identities in our own areas, in our own families, in our own communities. So how do we develop this pull factor? Public educational programs, I don't have to say much on that. Public educational programs and buy-in by the public. The public should own it. It is not something thrust upon by archaeological survey. Suppose you go to Madurai, where the Samanar Padukaigal, okay, beds are there. Jain's beds are there under the small hills. Now what happens? The local people don't even respect it. Now you need to bring, people from Archaeological Survey of India to clean it, to preserve it. So you need to have a kind of buy-in by the public. That's a ownership by the public. And develop, as I told you, an attractive career path for the people. See, we filter many people who are talented in the school system. Our school system filters out many talents. And most of the people who have to be on board in our education system, who can give, life to these heritage sites, are actually on the street, not recognized by our education system. And therefore, you need to build this career path right from the school. And as I told you, as I shared with you, a heritage infrastructure is important. Heritage infrastructure is how do you give access, okay, of people to have knowledge about heritage, the quality of training that you have, the resources that are available, and the visibility. You have a kind of department on heritage? Does your curriculum include all that? Which we will also see in push factor. So these are the pull factors that we need to create in terms of attraction towards heritage. Now, push factor is how are you going to identify the talent? We need to work on the curriculum in the schools and colleges, because when I was traveling abroad, I was in Austria. My friend told me to travel to a particular place. I said, how do I go there? Oh gosh, you have this map and go. My map reading skill is very poor, but I have studied geography, where my teacher told me to do the map. So I bought from the school and marked it automatically and got passed. But I am very poor in mapping skill. You see a foreigner who comes to a city and looks at the map and is able to move. And when the Google map was not there, he will be able to show you the book and say, show me where I am. Show me where I am. Then he will be able to move. But for us, that sense of, that mapping itself is very weak. So our curriculum in schools and colleges need to promote this. And we need to have a specific courses, skill building workshops and exposure, heritage festivals, talent mapping, as I told you. So these are the push factors, and you need to have pull factors towards a talent acquisition. Now, who are all the heritage talents? When you say heritage talents, we already seen that, but I just will go through it very quick. Restoration architects, heritage artisans, people who work in renovation industry. I don't think we even call it renovation industry. In India, we don't have something called renovation industry. We need to promote something specifically renovation industry, professional practitioners, business developers, brand builders. All those people should come into this. Then, as I was just sharing, we need to have a kind of data-driven approach, because we are living in the world of technology, and technology should play a major role into this heritage thing. So educational institutions with specialized programs on data-driven approach. No data on how many people make their living by preserving the heritage sites and buildings. Do we have a data? How many artisans, how many skilled people are making their living? No data on a number of people pursuing their career in heritage. And therefore, we need to have a kind of talent analytics, which will give us a lot of input on this. So once you have a talent planning, and then you have a kind of talent acquisition, where in talent acquisition, you have got a push factor and a pull factor. Both these things are coming there. By push factor, you are creating an attraction towards a job in heritage. By push factor, you are identifying, mapping with the use of technology and talent analysis to create a job. Now, once you identified them, once you have brought them on board, it is not like another sector. You need to have a kind of talent development. Now, when you have a talent development, you need to have a kind of demand-led skill development framework. Demand-led. So what are the demands that are going to happen in future? Even if you recruit them at the lower level, what would be the demand at the higher level? And again, in a country like ours, you will also see the caste hierarchy in even heritage management. You will see the particular type of caste people in the upper hierarchical level in senior management, who are there only for livelihood, whereas the artisans and semi-skilled people who are living with and emotionally connected with that heritage sites will be at a lower level, where they are not decision makers. So these people who are very good connect with the heritage have to be moved to upper level in the organization. Then only the heritage management practice will have a kind of sense of diversity, and the people who are very much connected to that will be in a kind of decision making place. And we also need to have a partner with the training development institutions to develop appropriate training curriculum. Now, with regard to all the traditional industries, the training curriculum, the methodology tend to be very, very traditional. So to maintain, to retain your heritage, and you need not be, you need not be always, juggle with archaic methods. You need to come out with new methods that will be able to retain and sustain and conserve these heritage sites. So what is the talent strategy that we need to follow? So I have a few slides that will talk about the talent strategy. Then we can. So the first one is that I talked to you about the most important thing that is also a kind of pull factor that creates an attraction towards an area is heritage branding. So you will attract good human resources, a talented people who always will get into another functional area of business only by heritage branding. And then, as I told you, the second talent strategy, which I have been talking, is talent analytics. We need to go beyond operational measurements like time to fill, cost per hire, and source of hire. These are the usual terms that we use in business. What is the time by which you will fill people? What is the cost per hiring somebody? But the full-time analyst to mine for more in-depth talent metrics using data to capture the whole person. Why do we need whole person analysis for heritage? Because it is not only the skill that matters, it is a personality characteristic that matters in heritage. So people who just see it as a kind of yearning for their livelihood cannot promote heritage because it does not give you an immediate recognition. People will who always look for immediate recognition, immediate appreciation, immediate reward are those people who are not fit for this heritage. People who find an intrinsic value, an intrinsic motivation, an intrinsic characteristics of patiently working for something because they like it. So you need to identify such people. You need to even make use of, psychometric tests for this talent strategy. Now we need to broaden the sourcing scope for heritage site. Now apprenticeships are in every trade. They are one of the best ways of, attracting talents. Do we have apprenticeship in heritage? Are we giving apprenticeship to, college students, even business schools? Are we trying to build on that? If we can do that, it will be good. We need to provide a lot of apprenticeship to the people who are looking for job in heritage sector. This is something that have to be looked into by educational institutions. Then we also need to have a kind of in-house training programs by which we can attract talent. Now, cross-industry hiring. Now, unless some industry, even the industries are getting into a kind of cross-industry hiring, for heritage, only the focus, the approach, the principles are different. We need to hire people from manufacturing sector. We need to hire people from service sector. We need to hire people from art, media and communication and all these things. So we need to have a kind of cross-industry hiring. Then there is another type of hiring that is known as investment or program hiring. Why am I talking about it? Because these are all unique to heritage. Hiring people with the right traits and motivations. You are not hiring people for the talents. You are not hiring people for their skills. You are hiring people for the right traits and motivation. Fit. So sourcing has to happen cross-industry, and it has to happen in a kind of program hiring. We call it investment hiring because when you find a person who is willing to learn, when you are trying to hire a person who is high in terms of energy, and you are sure that the person will learn anything. So you get the right person who has got the will to do, and then he will do it anyway. Then you need to have a kind of sustainable business approach to the talent management practices. So you need to have a strong marketer in the heritage management. We need to identify the talent matrix for a strong marketer and who has to be very, very professional to take it to the wider public to attract the talent pool. It's very important. Number two, you need to have a financial man. You had all these sessions earlier. I'm just trying to put together everything. Sustainability can be ensured by a financial plan. So a man who can manage finances, who can bring in a lot of money is also important for heritage. And interest can be triggered by contemporary rendering. Now, when you talk about heritage, you can't take people always to the past. You need to connect the past to the future. And that is the role of a heritage. And so contemporary rendering is very, very important. So I am coming to the close of this presentation. And so okay, there are two questions. I'll just answer that, then I go. Okay. In the present days, most of the hotels having the small department called cultural management with human resource management kindly share the role of cultural manager. Now, I think that they do seem to have again a very, very limited role. If you go to hotels, you will have a shop which brings some, products of local artisans, of value of heritage, and a thing of the past. So these cultural managers usually have a role to showcase some kind of local products that have got heritage value. For example, if you come to Trichy, if you go to hotels in Trichy or in the neighboring cities, you will have this Tanjavur Tattu. Okay, any kind of products that are well known in that particular area, they will be sourcing it. If you go to Kumbakonam area, and you will have a kind of that Kutuvalakku and all that. So these kind of signature products are sourced by these people and brought to the hotel and showcase. That's one of the work that they do. Number two, what they do is they are taking people also for a kind of cultural tourism, taking people for around like Chittanavasal near Trichy. So this is how they do it. But their role is very, very limited, just to attract the tourists and engage them to the sites which have got important value. Kindly touch upon some points on cross culture, maybe at the end, if time permits. Okay. I'll come to that. Now, when we say cross culture, people in India is known for pluralist culture, diversity. Now, how do I get connected with the people of other state when I go there? I think recently the union government has come out with an exposure program where the students from one state will go to another state to stay in a university and learn and come back. And that is a way to develop a kind of appreciation of other culture, other heritage, see the beauty of it, and see the connect. That will in turn make you feel pride about your own cultural roots and your own cultural heritage. So this kind of cross-cultural interest is very, very important. Knowing your history, your heritage, your past, and getting connected to that is well important. That will be strengthened by knowing the history of your own colleague in other states and appreciating it. And in fact, that will throw light on what you are, where you are, how you came from. So these kind of cross-cultural interactions and knowledge about heritage is very, very good to understand other people, to get enhanced and insights from the other sides. So we need to develop interest in heritage sites. A talent management program or a kind of human resource policy cannot hang in the middle. It has to be located into an ecosystem, and therefore we need to develop interest and we need to see the meaning behind it. When I saw that mandapam which I showed you, I need to see the meaning behind it. At that time, when a queen had to travel for a long distance of 150 kilometers or 75 kilometers, and probably there was no mechanized means of transportation, it would take weeks to reach a place and get back. So the troops will come along with her. And where would they stay? Now that has got a lot of meaning to the communities that are living in this area. There are certain communities which have got certain practices which are connected to this Karmandapam practice itself. So how do you see that? So I need to develop interest, seek meaning, and contextualize it. What do I mean when to contextualize? I need to bring a kind of contemporary flavor to that. I will like it. My children will like it. All other people like it only if you bring a kind of contemporariness to the heritage sites. So we need to build, for example, when people have to broad-based, develop interest in dhotis, they bring a sense of contemporariness to building, tying dhoti. If you bring an old farmer and make him to tie a dhoti and show it in the media, the youngsters will not pick it up. And therefore, you need to clothe it with a kind of contemporariness so that the heritage becomes very vibrant and keeps on changing without losing its original identity. And we need to build talents and career. So this is what I summarize about what I have covered in the whole presentation. With the wider population, we need to develop interest. And when you develop interest, there should be a kind of curiosity to see the meaning of what is happening around, to see the meaning, make sense of what's happening around. That is a philosophical question. That is a kind of epistemological question. Nothing happens for its own sake. Everything has got a meaning. So do it, try to understand the meaning, or just take for granted many things. We just spend a lot of time in useless things, but don't really seek for meaning. Then contextualizing means bring a contemporariness, identify and build talents, and build career. So this is what we need to do, a kind of, I think I have come to the end of my presentations. If you have questions or if you want to share, even if you disagree with me, if you want to highlight some of the good practices elsewhere with regard to human resource management, you are welcome. If culture is tourism product, the authenticity will be lost. What is your opinion? It's a very, very difficult question. I know to make it a completely like a tourism in star hotels, it doesn't add a greater value, but at least it brings people to the site. So we cannot rule out the possibility of tourism. Now we are talking about ecotourism or cultural tourism, and that has to be enhanced with a lot of sustainability practices. But just by taking tourism alone, you will not able to, enliven the heritage sites and product. It has got a lot of meaning. Now, when you, for example, who are all the original inhabitants of India has got a lot of, meaning for political action, socio-cultural mobility, and a lot of things. So it's not a simple thing of going and saying, oh, this is very wonderful and nice, and take a photo and come back. That's what tourism does it. But a heritage can transform our own life. Yeah, very few individuals want to be associated with heritage. Is it possible? Now, your question is very valid, and that is the complexity that we are living with. Now, if you want to attract people to an upgrade, first thing you need to give a kind of value addition to them. See, there are two ways by which I see a value in my life. One is, does it add income to my life? The another one is, does it give pleasure to me? See, like Steve Jobs who said, follow your passion. You will retain your passion, money will come. Just follow money, you will lose both. So in terms of heritage, we need to follow passion. So you need to identify the people who are passionate, upskill them, but at the same time, giving them some attraction that he gets a proper recognition or a kind of livelihood. Otherwise, how do people work on something for its own intrinsic value alone? If I am ensured of a decent livelihood, the demands of my life, then I also have a kind of intrinsic value, I will do it. So to bring heritage sensibility and reskilling, we need to also make this very, very attractive. Can it provide a kind of alternate livelihood? If a technology-oriented man and a person who works in analytics platform has to come back to heritage, then it should give at least half of what he was earning. Half he will be willing to give it up because he follows a passion. So the thing is, it becomes very, very unattractive. That's one of the reasons people don't come. I do agree with you that we need to upskill people and develop interests. Now, developing interest should happen at a societal level so that when everybody starts, for example, even if a guy is not interested in cricket, he will be talking about cricket because everybody is talking about cricket. Is the cricket the best games in the world? Can you say that? You can't even say that. But then why is it every guy in India is talking about it? Because people start, media speak, everybody speak. And if I don't speak, I become alienated. So the interest in heritage should happen like this. There should be a kind of social re-engineering process with regard to, revitalizing the heritage site, and it should happen everywhere. How do we use Adi Devo Bhavo, a power heritage tool in HR management? I'll be very happy if you can share on that. I really don't know of this. Mr. Breshwar Pradhan, can you speak on that? I'll be very happy.
Dear participant, you can speak on that.
If anybody is aware of this Adi Devo Bhavo, I am not aware of it even. Oh, it is Atiti Devo Bhava. Is it a Hindi word? Okay, that's good.
It's a Sanskrit word. Aditi, it is.
Atiti Deva Bhava means guest is God. Guest is God.
Like we say Matru Deva Bhava, Pitru Deva Bhava,
Atiti
Guru
Deva
Deva
Bhava
Bhava,
means
similarly
guest
Atiti
is
Deva
God.
Bhava.
Okay. But how is it a tool for heritage management? Because that's what
Guest is God means the tourist is a God for us who are coming for us.
Okay.
They are seeing the heritages, they are understanding the culture, they know about the peoples, how they lived in the past, and they understand about the destination, and they want to sustain the destination by informing as a cultural ambassador to their country.
Okay. Now again,
Treating the guest like God.
Okay. So this is a kind of tagline, a kind of brand building process.
So treat the guests properly, because we are seeing so many foreigners are being taken to tasks.
Okay. I think that is more to do with the tourism, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Anything that any one of you want to say or add on? Okay. So this is something very, very new. By learning with you, I have developed an interest. So wherever I will go, I will look at the heritage site, and I will also make it again a part of my mission. Okay, and there are a lot of things happening around, and I think we need to develop again a talent pool and create a talent pipeline, identify people and connect to people who can employ them. Okay, so shall I say thank you?
Yes, sir. Thank you for spending your expertise with us, your valuable time with us, and sharing various things with HR management, HR uses, heritage buildings, talent infrastructure, understanding heritage, and the life cycle of heritage management, and the functions of heritage management, and the various types of jobs one can avail in heritage management, and the competency framework, explaining about the competency framework, the skills challenging in heritage management, and all the talent pipeline from where one should start, and the talent pool and the various talent management, and the data driven approach, the analytics should be used in their heritage, and the talent development, all the push factor and the pull factor and everything, and one can broaden the sourcing scope through apprenticeship and in-house training programs and investment training hiring programs, and finally you ended up with the sustainable business approach in heritage management in HR policies. Thank you, sir, for spending your valuable time with us. Once again, I thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dear participants, I'd like to inform you after lunch, we have feedback and assessment session. The feedback form will be, you'll be taking your feedback form from the Atel portfolio, and the assessment sessions content will be posted in the chat box, and the test will be followed by the test at 2:15 to 3:15 p.m. Once again, I repeat, dear participants, after lunch, we have feedback and assessment session from 2:15 to 3:15. Feedback form, you need to fill from the Atel portfolio, and assessment paper link could be sent to your chat box, Zoom meeting chat box.